Hello everybody, this is Tekka. I finally did it. I purchased my very first mechanical keyboard. Now, just a quick history, I've had 3 keyboards my entire life before this one basically. My very first keyboard was the keyboard that came with like a HP desktop in the brown box. My second keyboard was a really cheap RBG gaming keyboard. I think it was on Amazon for like $15. And then my third keyboard I actually purchased recently. It was this one right here. This is the Lenovo keyboard. I think this one comes standard with all Lenovo machines. It's a full-size keyboard and it's actually really good. I really enjoyed using this keyboard. You can see here I got it at Goodwill for $5 and it was actually Blue Tag Day, so I got it for $2.50. And like I said, it's been great. You can hear the keys. They don't sound too rough. For a membrane keyboard, it's really good. But I made the mistake of spilling something on it, and I figured I was about to go back to Goodwill and just find another generic keyboard like this that comes with other hardware. But I decided to fall into peer pressure, make the plunge, and get a mechanical keyboard, which I'm going to show you all in just a second. So we're going to start off by unboxing the keyboard, which is the Ducky One Skyline. Now, if you order it like I did from mechanicalkeyboards.com, it's going to come in this brown standard shipping box here with some of their branded tape. So we're going to go ahead and whip out my knife and give it a quick cut so we can access the contents of the box. Then inside the actual box we have some packaging material, an invoice, and then the actual Ducky keyboard box here. After removing it from this plastic sleeve, we can see this is the Ducky One box with some information about the product on the front, including the dimensions and the weight, which is actually 950 grams. Actually giving the box a open, the first thing we see is this plastic keyboard cover, and then we see the actual mechanical keyboard in this little protective packaging right here. So here is the keyboard. This is the TKL model, meaning it is 80% the size of a full-size keyboard. Basically, the only difference here that you can see is they cut off the numpad on the side. Now, I wanted this one just to give myself a little bit more room on my desk because it's kind of a small desk, and the extra probably 4 inches or so does actually help out quite a bit. I was going to go even a little bit smaller and get the compact model, which essentially cuts off all the function keys. But I decided to go with this one because I use i3 and other window managers here and there. And a lot of my hotkeys involve the function keys, so I figured it would be a lot easier to use this instead of having to hold an additional key to access those function keys. So now getting into some of the cons of this keyboard, and I was okay with all of this, but some of the negatives is the actual switches in this keyboard are not hot swappable, so you can't take them out and switch from like a Cherry MX Red to a Cherry MX Blue or anything like that, unless if you want to do soldering and all that. Which, speaking of that, actually doing the research to find a mechanical keyboard actually ended up being rather difficult because there's such a rabbit hole that you could go down with these types of keyboards with all the different switches, all the different mods. There's people who completely build their own keyboards. I had to dig myself out of that rabbit hole pretty quick, otherwise it would have taken me months to actually purchase a keyboard. One of the other things, this is not backlit, it has no lighting or anything like that. I was okay with that because the lighting for my monitors is good enough and the keyboard I was using did not have any backlighting. But the Ducky keyboards, you can get a model that does have basically whatever you want. So what we're going to do now is actually just take a quick look around this keyboard. You've seen the front here, and looking over the top you can see that this is a absolutely beautiful keyboard. One of the main reasons I picked it is because I actually love the color scheme. With all of the different grays and the blue accents, it's just absolutely beautiful. You can see here that it did come with some additional keycaps, some blue keycaps, so you can add more accent keys if you would like to. On the back of the keyboard we can see the logo, it's the Ducky One, and then if we go ahead and take a look at the bottom, like you'd expect with most keyboards, we have these little stands so you can have 2 different levels to tilt it towards you if you would prefer. It is running a USB Type-C, which is awesome. You can see it's nice because it has this little feeder section, so you can have the wire coming out either side, whether you want it to be the middle, left, or right side of the keyboard. And that's basically it with the build of this keyboard. There's really not much to it. It's a solid keyboard. It is weight. Holding it here for this video this whole time, I'm actually starting to feel it a little bit. The keycaps themselves are Double Shot PBT keys, so generally they should last a little bit longer than your standard etched keycap. Now, getting into the actual switches of this keyboard, I decided to go with the silent red keys. These Ducky keyboards, all the options they give you are the Cherry MX keys. And the primary reason I did go with the silence is because I do a lot of recording while I'm typing. And you can hear that this keyboard is very, very quiet. I have to put it all the way up to the mic. That's the space bar. All the actual number keys are very quiet. But I do think they used a different switch for the spacebar and like the enter key and backspace key. So that's the main reason I went with the silent reds, is because they are fairly quiet for recording. They also had silent blacks, which I almost should have went with, because I noticed these silent reds do not take much pressure at all to press them. I think it's 45 grams of pressure activates the key. And for me, I have huge sausage fingers and I type quick, so I find myself accidentally bumping other keys, and because it takes no pressure at all to activate the key, I do double type things quite a bit, or hit keys that I do not intend on hitting. If I did know that, and if I were to go back and repurchase this, I would probably go with the silent black keys, which I think they require 60 grams of force, so it's a little bit heavier and a little bit harder to push the keys, which for me, I have pretty heavy set hands. That would probably be my preference. Now, if I didn't want the silent keys, I'd probably go with something like the clears, because the actual tactile click feedback sounds like something that I would be interested in. But I'm probably going to end up ordering one of those kind of sampler key switches and actually testing out and seeing which ones I do prefer. But for now, this one will do the trick. Now, one thing this did come with is this little Ducky keycap switcher. So what I could actually do real quick is actually show you the difference of keys of the membrane keyboard and this. So you could see right there, I'm going to try to get my face out of it so it focuses. That is the Cherry MX red switch, the silent one, like I said earlier. And then if I pull up my old keyboard and remove the keycap, you can see that this is just your standard squishy membrane keyboard. Now I will note the silent keys on this Ducky keyboard that I purchased are a little bit squishier than they would have been using the non-silent version, but they're still not nearly as bad as that membrane keyboard, and they have a really, really good feel to it. So in conclusion, I am really, really excited to continue using this and continue playing around with mechanical keyboards. This comes in at just about $100. I did pay an extra $10 for the silent keys here. But on the website, I got it from mechanicalkeyboards.com, but I will have a link in the description to Amazon. If you use that link, it supports me just a little bit. I get like $1 or $2. I'll have a link to the actual mechanicalkeyboards.com website, where you could actually find different sizes of this if you want full size, if you want the compact one, and you could actually pick exactly what keys you want. I'll also have a link to a video down in the description. The video I used to actually figure out kind of what keys I want to go with to start. He does a really good job with the sounds and explaining what the tactile versus linear and all that is. So I do recommend you check that out down below if you're in the market for a keyboard. Other than that, that's basically wraps up the video. Please check out my content on Library. Make sure you subscribe to me there. I have all sorts of social media stuff down below. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Their names will be on the screen down below. Thank you both so much for supporting my content. If you want to go ahead and support me on Patreon, there'll be a link in the description. There's some perks. You can check it out there. But if you don't feel like doing that, giving this video a like, subscribing, and even leaving a comment maybe telling us what keyboard you use would be more than enough. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, and goodbye.